Sorry to keep everybody waiting.
Hi, Governor. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so welcome.
Good morning, and welcome to the 2015 Governor's Accessibility Awards. My name is Chuck Sayer, and on behalf of the Governor's Commission on Disability, it is truly an honor for me to be at this gathering today. With me here today is the Chairman of the Governor's Commission on Disability, Mr. Paul Van Blerigen. The Chairman and I welcome and thank Governor Hassan for her consistent partnering with the Governor's Commission and for her unyielding work and dedication to individuals with a disability. We also welcome distinguished honorees, legislators of the New Hampshire General Court, Commission members, all agency heads and staff, and members of the community. This week, we are commemorating the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. For a quarter of a century, this monumental law has sought to abolish discrimination based upon a disability. The ADA is a civil rights law which applies to all areas of our lives, our jobs, our schools, our modes of transportation, and places that are open to the public. When first enacted in 1990, the ADA was the result of many years of advocacy to address the pitfalls and shortcomings of prior laws. Without question, the ADA works as a continuation of the Civil Rights Act to ensure that equal protection of the law is safeguarded for all citizens of the United States. Now, we have made great strides over the past 25 years. As with many laws, the ADA is still a work in progress. However, employers now have an awareness of their obligation to those with a disability. We all have an appreciation of the significance of service animals, Braille, screen readers, sign language, and we acknowledge the physical and architectural mandates regarding access to buildings, schools, and our parks where our children play. We also have a better appreciation of the so-called hidden disabilities, which are found in the mental health arena. We now look to the next 25 years and beyond. The future is bright as we are consistently optimistic as to the future impact of the ADA. The next phase of the ADA will hopefully encompass access for all, whereby universal design is part of our everyday speak. We must strive to address the needs of all people by recognizing the broad spectrum of abilities and to take into account all human diversity. The awards today recognize the outstanding accomplishments and leadership which support independence, inclusiveness, and service for individuals with disabilities. Today, Governor Hassan will present these awards, which we see as a wonderful way to express our thanks and gratitude for continuing the New Hampshire tradition of improvement and betterment of our everyday lives. And today, it is also fitting that we recognize the legislators and others who helped in the passage of Senate Bill 47, which eliminated the practice of the payment of sub-minimum wages to people with disabilities. We will also recognize posthumously a very special woman who was fervent in her desire to advocate for those individuals with brain injuries. Now it is my honor and pleasure to present to you our Governor, Maggie Hassan.
Good morning, Chuck. Thank you for the wonderful remarks you just made and for the introduction. I am sorry I kept you all waiting this morning. I apologize. My first appointment of the day had a flat tire, and that kind of backed us up. But I am unbelievably grateful that you are all here. The Governor's Commission on Disability plays such an important role in the progress that we are all making together, as do all of the supporters and advocates for people who experience disabilities and by people who experience disabilities makes for our state. I want to congratulate our award winners, Dana, is it Trahan?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure I pronounced it correctly.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the Pelham Police Department and the Pelham Education Focus Group. Thank you for your work. To the Chatter Cup, thank you for everything you have done. All of you are leaders. All of you have gone above and beyond standards to ensure accessibility, all of you are making sure and modeling ways in which we can offer programs and services that promote inclusion in our state. I am also particularly honored to be here today as we engage in special recognition for Ellen Edgerly, posthumous recognition of her daughter Sarah, who I had the pleasure of knowing just a little bit and admiring a great deal. Sarah was an inspiration. She raised awareness about what it's like to live with a lifelong disability, and her work really has been critical in improving the world for people who experience brain injuries. I also am joined today, I know, by some of the legislators, current and former, who made Senate Bill 47 a reality this year. The bipartisan legislation that I signed earlier this year, which, as Chuck mentioned, makes it illegal in New Hampshire to pay some minimum wages to people who experience disabilities. What another great first for New Hampshire. We are the first in the nation to do that, and all of you should be incredibly proud of that progress. As Chuck mentioned, this is the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. We hold this event every year around this time, and what a special time to mark its 25th anniversary this year. The ADA has had significance for a whole lot of people in our country and in our state, not just those who experience disabilities. As Chuck mentioned, when you make it easier for one group of people to have access to, whether it's a sidewalk or a storefront or a school, you make it easier for a lot of other people too. And that's been one of the great lessons of the ADA, is when you recognize everyone's needs and provide accessibility for everybody, you get stronger in ways you never knew. But it's also had incredibly personal impact for me and for my family. Today, I think a lot about the fact that Tom's and my 27-year-old son, Ben, who happens to be a very funny and smart Exeter High School graduate who also has very severe physical disabilities, Ben's life is entirely different than it would have been a generation ago. And that is in large part because of the work that advocates did to make sure that our school systems were prepared to educate all children. But it also has a lot to do with the work we've done with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Recognition that people who experience disabilities have a great deal of talent and energy to offer, sometimes particularly special talent and energy to offer, and when they do and when they are included fully, that just makes us all stronger. I come to this role as governor not only as a mother, but also as an attorney who happened to practice labor and employment law for about 20 years. And when I began my practice, it was before the ADA was passed, and then the ADA passed, and I watched as it had an impact on employers and employees throughout my practice, making sure that they were having the kind of interactions they needed to have so that employers could understand how they could include people who experience disabilities in the workplace in meaningful ways. It has really enabled employers to find innovative solutions that help people with disabilities stay in the workplace. It has increased participation. It leads to improvements for all employees, not just those who happen to experience disabilities. And it makes institutions more accessible for all people. I think a lot whenever I see a parent with a toddler and a child in a carriage and maybe a child in a backpack too, I think about how much easier it is for that parent to navigate a ramp or an automatic door than it would have been easier. And that's kind of a good example of the ripple effect that the ADA had. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say we didn't have more work to do, right? Because we do. While we have made improvements on including people with disabilities in the workplace, we know the unemployment rate for people with disabilities is still much, much higher than the typical population. And that leads me to my thanks to all of you. New Hampshire has a tradition of inclusiveness second to none. We led the effort to end discrimination We led the effort nationally to bring people out of institutions and into our communities. We understand that our success, the Hassan family understands that Ben's inclusion is the result of the work of families and self-advocates and their friends and neighbors and attorneys and other advocates who came together to insist on the very American and democratic principle that everybody counts. And every time we insist on that, every time we advocate for inclusion, we are reinforcing the vision that our founders had. That vision was a vision that said everybody counts. Of course, our founders didn't count everybody at first, but they had confidence that every successive generations of Americans would find a way to bring more and more people in from the margins into the heart and soul of our communities and our democracy, and that when we did that, we would all get stronger together. And not only did we get stronger as human people, as we honored human dignity and human freedom, but we also got stronger in a way that I think our founders understood we would, which is that when you bring people in and you unleash all that talent and energy, all that unique perspective, our economy thrives too. We don't have a person to waste in the Granite State or the United States of America or in the world. And our job as leaders and our job as advocates is to make sure we stand up for that principle every single day. It's ongoing work, and I know it gets tiring sometimes. But know that when you speak up, when you insist that everybody counts, when you say there is a way to include this person or this group, there is an innovative solution that will allow somebody to be an effective employee. When you do that day in and day out, you are making strides not only for yourself or for your friend or for your loved one or for your community. You are really, truly making strides for humankind. And I thank you so much for it. I'm honored to be with you today.
Now we would like to recognize our first recipient of the 2015 Governor's Accessibility Awards. And this is in the individual and advocate category. And our winner today is Dana Trahan. Dana was nominated by Ryan Donnelly of Granite State Independent Living. Dana Trahan is a remarkable individual from Exeter who has worked tirelessly to advocate against the elimination of the closed Route 7 bus and ADA paratransit services. After being diagnosed as legally blind 5 years ago, she discovered the tremendous challenge people with disabilities have in finding transportation to remain active in their communities and independent in their homes. She has educated herself on how to advocate effectively about the economics of this bus route. Dana has shown leadership and advocacy and access to all who need public transportation. So a great pleasure, I request that Dana Trahan come on up and receive the 2015 Governor's Accessibility Award. And Ryan, why don't you come up also? Ryan actually nominated Dana. And a second recipient, which is in the community impact category, and it goes to the Pelham Police Department Special Outreach and Resource Project, SOAR, in the community impact category. This group was nominated by Captain Stephen Toom of the Pelham Police Department. This is a collaborative project between the Pelham Police Department and the Pelham Special Education Focus Group, where these individuals came up with a voluntary registration designed to better accommodate members of the community that have disabilities such as autism, schizophrenia, and dementia. The registry is a multi-purpose program, with the first being to assist first responders by expanding their capabilities of addressing and communicating with a participant who is nonverbal. The members of the police department involved with this project are Lieutenant Ann Perriello and Officer Brian Kelly. If they would step forward, please, with the nominee, with Captain Stephen Toom.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the town of Pelham and the Pelham Police Department, we would want to thank Governor Hassan, the commission. This is huge progress, and this is what you mentioned. This is progress in the correct direction. Not only does this SOAR registry open up an avenue for the disabled population to be able to better communicate with first responders, it more importantly has opened up an avenue for our department, and we are furthering this to other law enforcement agencies on better ways for us to communicate with the disabled population. Very shortly, you're going to meet 3 women from the town of Pelham, from the focus group, that have come into our agency, and they were able to run an entire training seminar for our first responders for the town of Pelham. They spoke on disability awareness. The disability awareness, that class was not only lecture, but it was also hands-on. So what they brought to us were multiple avenues for us to be able to communicate when we're responding to different calls, other ways to look at things, other ways to approach different calls for service. So this is just the stepping stone of going in the right direction. The SOAR registry opens up an avenue again for the disabled population to communicate with us, but it has further educated our department and first responders on better assisting the disabled population. So we want to thank them, and I believe you're about to introduce them.
We are. Well, the lieutenant eloquently stated, and now we are also recognizing in the community impact category, the Pelham Education Focus Group. Again, Special Outreach and Resource Project, also nominated by Captain Stephen Toom of the Pelham Police Department. This is the other half, as the lieutenant has stated, of the former project between the Pelham Police Department and the Pelham Special Education Focus Group, where the individuals collaborated on this voluntary registration designed to accommodate members of the community that have disabilities. This group provided the training for the police officers that included a history of different disabilities and effective communication styles and approaches based on the need at hand. Members of this group that we asked to come forward are Jerry Williams, Lynn Abujaoud, which I hope I pronounced correctly, and Diane Andrews. Congratulations. And also in attendance is the superintendent of schools, of the elementary school it is, of all the schools, I'm sorry, Amanda Lacaro. Thank you for coming.
just wanted to talk about focus group for a moment. Focus group was put into place by the Pelham School District 2 years ago. It originated because of the need for better communication between parents of children with unique challenges in the school district. The group meets monthly and is comprised of the Director of Student Services, administrators from each school, a member of the school board, and several parents with children of various ages and abilities that are being educated by the Pelham School District. The group is fully supported by our superintendent, Amanda Legos. The mission of the group is that we, parents and educators, will work together to strengthen the family-school partnership within our community. We will keep the spotlight on special education and continue to move forward, making positive changes in our community to enrich the lives and education of our children. When we approached the Pelham Police Department, Lieutenant Perriello and Officer Brian Kelly embraced the opportunity to work with our group on what became the SWORD program. This was the beginning of our partnership. From this point, we established a disability awareness training from a parent's perspective for our police and fire department. It was very well received, and we know that there will be many more opportunities in the future to strengthen this partnership. We all have the same goal and vision, to enrich the lives of people with disabilities in our community, and we are honored to accept this award. Thank you.
Once again, congratulations to the town of Pelham and the Pelham Police Department. And our last honoree today was nominated by Tom Kersey, Executive Director of the NEHSA. And the winner here is the Chatter Cup. And again, once again, the Community Impact category. The Chatter Cup was established in 2008, inspired by the families of Colin Beck and Nick Robichaud, two boys who were diagnosed with symptoms that fall within the autism spectrum. This group was created to raise funds in support of families who live every day challenged by the effects of autism. The mission is to raise awareness in the community and to fund many incredible programs that provide these children and their families with support, education, and opportunity. To date, the Chatter Cup has raised and donated over $290,000 to support families striving past and triumphing over their adversity. This funding provides one-on-one instruction in skiing, snowboarding, and kayak. And the two men here today on behalf of the Chatter Cup are Mike Gibault and Craig Beck.
On behalf of the Chatter Cup, we want to thank Tom Kersey and Nessa for this honor to be nominated, first of all. And we want to thank Governor Maggie, Hassan, and the Commission for choosing us as the winner of this award. We're very honored and humbled. Our families thank you. I mean, it can't go without saying, we can't do this without our families. All our great friends that surround us throughout the whole weekend. The skaters, the organizations like Nessa, Easter Seals, and all the programs that we support throughout the whole weekend. It's an honor on behalf of everybody involved with the Chatter Cup to take this award home to them. Thank you.
Now we turn to program, and we'd like to recognize those legislators who were instrumental in the passage of Senate Bill 47. As Governor Hassan stated, this partisan group of individuals came together with various advocates to help ensure that people who experience disabilities can fully experience economic equality. Senate Bill 47 repealed and eradicated the payment of sub-minimum wages to persons with disabilities. And a special thanks to Governor Hassan, who so effectively signed this bill into law without hesitation. Thank you again, Governor. And while some of the honorees could not be here with us today, with the following come forward if they are present. Senator Martha Fuller Clark, Senator Andrew Hosmer, Senator Betty Lasky, Senator Donna Soucy, Representative Michael Cahill, Representative Tracy Emmerich, Representative Douglas Lake, and the Honorable A. Christian Mines. Again, thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much. I would, on behalf of everyone here, sure some other people have some remarks, but I'd like to thank the New Hampshire Governor's Commission on Disabilities for the great work that you do every day on behalf of significant members of our community. And I'd also like to thank the Governor and recognize her commitment over many, many years to assisting the citizens in this state with disabilities. I was honored to have the opportunity to become a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 47. I was honored to have previously worked with Chris Munns, who really was the leader on this legislation in the previous session. And like many, I was disturbed to learn that 2 years ago, that New Hampshire employees were allowed to seek a waiver to be given the permission to pay a sub-minimum wage to individuals with disabilities. I think most of us were unaware that that was a waiver that actually existed. And actually it was used as late as 2013. Happily today, no employer has applied for that waiver, and with the signing of this legislation, the option for that waiver no longer exists. And as the Governor mentioned, we are now become the first state in the country to pass legislation to do away with the sub-minimum wage. Passage of this legislation, which we are all celebrating today, corrects a decided wrong in our employment policies and makes sure that those with disabilities are not singled out as second-class citizens. It ensures fair treatment and inclusion in the workplace for all our citizens. And with passage of this law, we are reconfirming the self-worth of such individuals in our society. So thank you all very much, and it couldn't have been more meaningful to be involved in working with this legislation and seeing it finally succeed.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the Commission for this award. When I was told 2 years ago that it was possible for someone with a disability to earn less than the minimum wage for their efforts, I didn't believe it, particularly based on their disability. Not only did I think it was unfair and discriminatory, but it was inconsistent with New Hampshire's tradition of encouraging hard work and rewarding it accordingly. People with a disability want nothing more than to have the same rights to live in their community as everyone else. And that includes being able to earn a fair living and make a contribution to their community. We have made great progress over the years in terms of community inclusion, but we still have a way to go in terms of employment. Today, only 35% of disabled persons are employed. That compares to 75% in the general population. The solution is not to offer persons with a disability less for the work they do. The solution is to match their skills with the work that needs to be done and to pay them for the contribution that they make. I'm very thankful to Senators Fuller Clark, Hosmer, Lasky, and Soucy, and Representatives Lay, Cahill, and Emmerich for introducing SB 47, and to the legislature and the governor for passing and signing it into law, and very proud that New Hampshire has once again taken an important step forward in the area of rights for persons with disability. Thank you very much.
It wasn't so many years ago that my wife, upon arriving in this country, going to school, worked at an institution taking care of children who were disabled. And this was the custom that the parents would visit, some weekends and some not. And we've come a long way since that day. We now have children in school, being educated mainstream, and working as they become adults. And now they won't be paid a sub-minimum wage. This is a great accomplishment, and there's more to do. We need to have more inclusion, and I urge employers to seek out people with handicaps, disabilities, and include them in the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you again, legislators, for all you do for us. And now I'd like to, as we look to close out the program, and it's only fitting during the celebration of the 25th anniversary that we recognize a very special person that obviously Governor Hassan had referenced and referred to so eloquently. And that is Sarah Edgerly, who is the daughter of Ellen Edgerly. And we do have a certificate of appreciation from the New Hampshire Governor's Commission on Disability. In reading from the certificate, Sarah Edgerly, in spite of her own disability and inabilities to speak, was a marvelous advocate that helped further the cause of awareness about living with a lifelong disability from traumatic brain injury. Many times over the years, accompanied by her mother, Ellen Edgerly, she attended legislative hearings, rallies, and events, and did not let her disability constrain her quiet witness on behalf of people living with brain injury. Her team for the annual Brain Injury Walkathon, named Sarah's Strutters, has been for many years among the top 3 teams participating in the walk by funds raised to support people living with brain injury. We present this citation posthumously to Sarah Edgerly for her inspiration and dedication to improving the world of brain injury victims. Dated this July 21st, 2015, by the Governor, Margaret Wood Hassan, Paul Van Blerigan, the Chair of the Governor's Commission, and myself, Charles J. Sayer. And with that, I would ask Ellen to come on up and please accept on behalf of Sarah. And Sarah's picture is on this table also.
Thank you. Can I invite my team? Yes.
Thank you, Governor Hassan and the Governor's Commission on Disability. It sure takes a family. Back on February 2nd, 1992, Sarah was involved in a very serious accident, and it not only impacted her life, but our entire family. So our struggle was the past 23 years, and all of us as a family advocated for the school system, for the health insurance, for Medicaid, Sarah and her siblings and her nieces and nephews attended public hearings, and we went through Sarah's journey and we learned quite a lot, and we learned from Sarah that there was a true gift of living each day and enjoying and smiling and being totally grateful and appreciating life, and we are very blessed to have had her, and we're very honored for this recognition. Thank you very much.
One of the objectives of the Governor's Commission is to seek the removal of barriers which bar equality and to ensure that the state of New Hampshire strives for access for all. The honorees here today exemplify these traits as well as the intent of the ADA. In closing, I would like to once again congratulate all of the recipients of the 2015 Governor's Accessibility Awards. Your efforts are truly a model for the state of New Hampshire as well as the entire country. On behalf of the Governor's Commission on Disability, again, thank you, Governor Hassan, for your efforts in safeguarding the rights and needs of individuals with disabilities and for promoting and supporting legislation to that end. Thank you. A special thanks to the Governor's staff, the Commission members, and the staff of the Governor's Commission on Disability, and the members of the 2015 Governor's Accessibility Awards Committee, all of whom are integral in today's event. And once again, in closing, I'd like to now say happy anniversary to the ADA. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.